Today is Friday, January 17th. We're talking about where Americans are in for the coldest temperatures in a year. In some places, it's going to feel like 40 degrees below zero. Also, just like the effort to ban TikTok, the push to save TikTok is now getting bipartisan support. So a ban might not go into effect this weekend after all. We'll explain. Plus, we'll recap 2 rocket launches, including one that ended in an explosion. And a feud between co-stars has spawned another lawsuit, this one naming more A-list celebrities. Those stories and even more news to know coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. A powerful Arctic cold front is about to unleash dangerously low temperatures on parts of the country. In fact, this will be the coldest weather the U.S. has seen in a year. The brutally cold air is expected to rush into the northern U.S. tonight, then expand over much of the west and central U.S. tomorrow, then hit parts of the south and east on Sunday. By Monday, temperatures could be almost 30 degrees below normal for millions of Americans in what's already the coldest part of the year. The most extreme cold is expected in the Dakotas, where temperatures could reach 30 degrees below zero. And wind chills could make it feel like 40 to nearly 50 below zero. Those are conditions that can cause frostbite in less than 10 minutes. Elsewhere, it's single-digit wind chills. By Monday morning, they're expected across most of the country. Meanwhile, in California, firefighters have made progress on the massive wildfires that have been devastating the Los Angeles area for more than a week now. But it could still be at least another week before everyone who's had to evacuate will be able to return home. Officials say homes and businesses need to be checked for toxic chemicals, and electricity and other public utilities have to be restored. After that, it's expected to take months to clean up neighborhoods. The biggest fires have now scorched an area 3 times the size of Manhattan and led to at least 27 deaths. One bright spot is the weather should make it easier for firefighters to put out even more of the flames over the weekend before strong winds return to the forecast on Monday. You know how we told you about a breakthrough in Gaza ceasefire negotiations? Well, the ceasefire and hostage deal was officially signed yesterday, and officials expect it to go into effect by Monday. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu confirmed all last-minute disputes were worked out, and the main details we talked about yesterday are staying the same. Many Palestinians and Israeli hostages' families have been celebrating news of this ceasefire. Though even since the deal was announced Wednesday, there's been relentless fighting in Gaza, and dozens of people have been killed, including civilians. So some are skeptical a deal will hold. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill questioned more of President-elect Trump's top cabinet picks about some of his biggest campaign promises. For example, Treasury Secretary nominee Scott Bessent was asked about tax cuts and tariffs. He said Americans should think about tariffs as a tool for 3 things: negotiating, fixing unfair trade practices, and raising revenue. Still, senators on both sides of the aisle raised concerns about tariffs raising prices here at home, provoking retaliation, and more. Bessent also told lawmakers extending tax cuts is the single most important economic issue of the day. Lawmakers yesterday also heard from the proposed EPA director, Lee Zeldin, and Interior Secretary nominee, Doug Burgum. Both of them would have sway over the Trump administration's energy policy and climate change rules. Zeldin promised to roll back regulations and promote oil and gas development. He also promised to work to preserve clean air and water. But critics say they were disappointed he didn't have more clear-cut plans to combat climate change. As for Burgum, he made the case that developing fossil fuels and other energy sources here in the U.S. could actually help the environment, saying it would mean less demand from countries that have fewer environmental safeguards. He also called for more electricity from coal and other sources to power data centers for the country's tech industry. And he raised concerns about alternative sources like solar and wind, saying they aren't reliable enough. Some of the most contentious confirmation hearings are still coming up. TikTok might be getting a last-minute lifeline. Remember, a ban was supposed to go into effect in the U.S. over the weekend because of a law that said the app needed to either be sold to an American company or get removed from app stores, all over national security concerns. Well, now reports say President Biden won't enforce the ban because of the timing being on a holiday weekend right before Inauguration Day. So it all comes down to President-elect Trump, who takes office on Monday. During his first term, Trump had wanted to ban the app, but he's since said he'd like to keep it available. And he's even seemingly embraced TikTok CEO, who is expected to be at a Trump victory rally on Sunday and the inauguration on Monday. Some lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have also pressed for at least an extension so TikTok could get more time to find an American buyer before facing the ban, despite lawmakers passing this bill with bipartisan support in the first place. Others are still ready to do away with the app, though, as planned, like the leader of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Tom Cotton. He says it's an easy decision to make since TikTok, quote, addicts our kids, harvests their data, targets them with harmful and manipulative content, and spreads communist propaganda. The U.S. Supreme Court has a say, too, since it heard arguments just last week about whether the new law is constitutional. Justices are expected to announce a decision any time now. What's unclear is what happens if the High Court upholds a ban that President-elect Trump doesn't want to enforce. Whether Trump actually has that option depends on who you ask. We're getting into some of the possibilities for the future of TikTok in our special edition Saturday episode tomorrow. More news still ahead, but first, a quick break to thank our sponsor, Delete Me. If you didn't already know, data brokers make a profit off your data. Your data is a commodity. Anyone on the web can buy your private details. This can lead to identity theft, phishing attempts, harassment, and unwanted spam calls. But now you can protect your privacy with Delete Me. I'm now signed up with Delete Me's subscription service, and just in the first report, Delete Me removed 84 listings with my personal information. So these complete strangers had things like my name, home address, social security number, you name it, and they were selling that information. Well, no more thanks to Delete Me. To put it simply, Delete Me does all the hard work of wiping your and your family's personal information from data broker websites. Delete Me then sends personalized privacy reports showing what info they found, where they found it, and what they removed. Look, as someone who does work publicly, I am extra aware of my online safety and security, but we're all impacted in the online world we live in today. So take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me, now at a special discount for our listeners. Today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan by texting Newsworthy to 64,000. Text Newsworthy to 64000. That's Newsworthy to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply, so see terms for details. Now back to the news. Another giant reusable rocket was blasted into space. Jeff Bezos' space company Blue Origin launched the New Glenn, named after the first American to orbit the planet, John Glenn. This is a long time coming since it's been 4 years since the rocket was first supposed to launch, but this was the first actual try and it was successful. In fact, this was the first of any of Blue Origin's rockets to reach orbit. But there's still some work to do. The company hoped it would also be able to land New Glenn's booster on a barge in the Atlantic so it could be recycled, but that did not work out. Blue Origin plans to launch about half a dozen more New Glenn flights this year, and eventually it's hoping to take spacecraft and astronauts into orbit and to the moon, too, making it a serious competitor to SpaceX. Speaking of which, SpaceX launched its Starship rocket on its latest test flight yesterday with mock satellites, but no crew. Well, it broke apart over the ocean a little less than 10 minutes into the flight. Airlines flying in the area even had to change course to avoid falling debris. SpaceX did successfully return the booster portion of the rocket, catching it on the launch pad just before the rest of the Starship broke up. More Americans are being diagnosed with cancer these days, but the good news is more Americans are also surviving. An American Cancer Society report released yesterday showed cancer deaths have declined by more than a third since the early 90s. Researchers credit advances in detection and treatment, along with fewer people smoking. That said, cancer diagnoses are on the rise, especially among younger women. Women under 65 years old are now 82% more likely to get cancer than men of the same age. Some of the biggest increases are in breast and cervical cancers. For men, rates of lung cancer have gone down quite a bit, but prostate cancer has been rising. Both men and women under 65 have seen increases in colorectal cancers, too. Doctors say environmental factors may play a role, with Americans exposed to toxins and chemicals more often than they used to be. There's also genetics and the usual lifestyle factors like diet, heavy drinking, smoking, and so on. Consider this the next chapter in a bitter legal battle over a Hollywood drama and what happened behind the scenes. Justin Baldoni just filed a countersuit against his co-star in It Ends With Us, Blake Lively, as well as her movie star husband, Ryan Reynolds. Baldoni is suing them for defamation and extortion and is seeking at least $400 million in damages. He says Lively and Reynolds hijacked the production and marketing of the movie and then smeared his name with false allegations of harassment. Remember, Lively sued Baldoni first, as well as others tied to the movie, saying they retaliated against her in the media, all because she wanted to end repeated sexual harassment and other disturbing behavior on set. Baldoni says those allegations are untrue. In fact, he says Lively, Reynolds, and their friend Taylor Swift pressured him into approving changes in the movie. And then he says when Lively was publicly criticized, she used him as a scapegoat. The newest suit also says Reynolds was responsible for getting Baldoni dropped by his agency. Even more lawsuits are expected to follow in this. President-elect Trump just named 3 special ambassadors to what he called a great but very troubled place, Hollywood, California. He chose 3 actors who have supported him in the past: Mel Gibson, Sylvester Stallone, and Jon Voight. To be clear, ambassador to Hollywood is not an official government position, so it's not totally clear what the 3 stars will be doing. Trump says it's about boosting business since he says Hollywood has lost too much business to foreign countries. The president-elect says the actors will be his eyes and ears in the movie industry and that he'll follow through on any recommendations they make. Well, that's it for the main news today, but now it's time for Feel Good Friday, when we bring you one extra feel-good or positive news story before the weekend. But first, thanks to our sponsor. This new year, you may be thinking about the things you want to leave behind. But for me, there are definitely some things I want to keep the same, including using Lumi Whole Body Deodorant. It is safe to use anywhere on your body, it's clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours, and it's paraben-free, baking soda-free, and more. So I use their stick deodorant every day. I also love the body wash as well as deodorant wipes for on the go. So these are parts of my routine that will not change. You can also choose from a variety of fresh, bright scents or just get unscented. Try a variety with Lumi's Starter Pack. It's perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get 15% off all Lumi products with our exclusive code. And if you combine that 15% off with the already discounted starter pack, that equals over 40% off their starter pack. Just use code NEWSWORTHY for 15% off your first purchase at LumiDeodorant.com. That's code NEWSWORTHY at LumiDeodorant.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Lumi. Now back to Feel Good Friday. The most widespread invasive species on Earth that's dangerous to the environment may actually play a huge role in regrowing forests. Water hyacinth is native to South America, but it has made its way to every continent except Antarctica. It grows out of control on lakes, cutting them off from sunlight and oxygen, crowding out native species, and even clogging irrigation and hydroelectric systems. But a man in Kenya decided to turn a problem into a solution. He founded Hyapack, a startup that transforms water hyacinths into a biodegradable plastic alternative. And one of the main products Hyapack makes is bags for seedlings, baby trees that are planted to regrow forests. Hyapack partnered with the Kenyan government to use its bags for seedlings planted as part of a massive reforesting effort. Because they biodegrade, the bags are planted with the baby trees and even release nutrients as they dissolve into the earth, so less water is needed. Hyapack already exports to America and Germany and is planning to expand even further. All right, we'll be back tomorrow with the latest on any decision from the Supreme Court about a possible TikTok ban and what that could look like moving forward in our special edition Saturday episode. Then a reminder, Monday is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so we will not have an episode on Monday. But we will be watching President-elect Trump's inauguration that day, and we'll be back in your ears on Tuesday with a roundup of how it all went and any other news to know for your week. So be sure to join us again tomorrow and then again on Tuesday. For now, thanks for listening and have a great weekend.